right, what is up, Utah fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest, and that really was a tough one, right? That this was a game where, in my mind, like the thought of us losing against Houston was just so out of the picture. Where you know, as I did my breakdown coming into the week, the data was showing me that there was a shot we were going to lose to Houston. They actually had a pretty good defense, but again, who knows how much of that was because of them not having a good offense. And I really, in my mind, didn't think we'd be here even earlier this week, that we would have lost to Houston. So, we started off 4-0. Now we're 4-4. This has been a rough past month or so where Utah has just lost all life as a team, seemingly. And maybe I'm being dramatic, but this is just not where we thought this season would go. And I think tonight, as much as the season's not over, there's still a lot of football left to be played. It set us up for what will be a different type of year where it's going to be a different thing where we're going to be trying to look for positives and build up the team to try to head into next year, right? DJ and Tay says, I have no words. Justin, shame. Wild you, what the freak? Justin TYH, what do we have to do to win a game? SI, this is painful. I'm with you guys. I'm also going to drop the video chat link. If any of you guys do want to jump on and video chat with me, I would love to have you guys on. So feel free to jump on, use that link if you guys want to join the discussion for a few minutes there. Yeah, that was tough, guys. I don't think there's too much you can say here. I thought for a little while there, I was posting on Twitter that Brandon Rose looked like he was giving us some life, and he looked good. I mean, he threw a pick. It is what it is. I don't put that game on him whether we won or lost. Right? He wasn't in until a decent amount into the second half. Um, that I would say, if anything, I like almost that he. I don't like that he threw a pick, but I like that he was taking shots and opening up this offense, because what we have seen for 2 months now, over 2 months now of this season, is our offense just not doing anything. Just, hey, if we are not just able to pound the rock at will, we are just not going to do anything. Isaac has looked extremely uncomfortable every every time he drops back, in his first or second read is not open. When it comes to he's a freshman. This is not about me hating on Isaac Wilson. This is about me being real about where he is. In a year or two, he could be a much more developed player with a much broader set of skills. But where he is right now is a guy that, if his first and second read is not open, he freaks out, shuts down, and doesn't know what to do. That's not what Brandon Rose looked like. And I really liked Brandon Rose. The interception that sucked, he tried to force one in there. The announcers commented on it. The receivers got to come back to the ball. But I mean, he threw a pick, he forced one in there. It is what it is. But I loved how he ran the offense before that. Anytime it was a screen to one of those receivers on the outside, he did not hesitate and like think too much. He would just throw it, and his accuracy was night and day, in my opinion, compared to Wilson. So, I mean, if there's any bright side, I do hope that we take from that game, that we do ride with Rose for a while. For me, I thought it was clearly the option. I know there's a ton of rumors about Rose, um, transferring out. It does seem like there's a lot of validity to that. But I'd also say, him transferring out probably has a lot to do with the fact that he doesn't seem to have a shot to be the starter. Now that he does, and could potentially be our starter, um, I don't see why he would leave. Danny Boy says, I don't even remember them being this bad when they started Pac-12 play in 2011, 2012. Yeah, guys, let's be real about what we're seeing here, okay? And I'm going to give you guys my real diagnosis of what's going on and why the offense looks so bad. I appreciate that comment, Danny, and that let me kind of go off on a tangent here. We were banking on Cam Rising, and what this offense thrives in is a safe decision maker that does not turn the ball over and makes big plays when they're improving like that, or at least has the ability to make like improv off script instead of forcing throws or getting wild with poor decisions. And so Rising was and is amazing at that. Like his ability to run a simple, effective offense and then just make something out of nothing every 4 to 6 plays is, I haven't seen it much in my life. I've watched a lot of football, and that's what he is. It's kind of like it's something special. We always talk about how he's a gamer, he's a baller, right? He makes plays, and that's what we see, and that's what you need in this offense. And it he health wise it is gone, and we haven't had anyone that can fill those shoes, right? That can actually do that safe, effective, efficient offense, and then when it breaks down, make a play. So last week we cut Ludwig, right? We say, okay, he stepped down. Take from that what you will. It's my perception that Ludwig was asked to step down, but it's just my perception. Maybe someone else knows something else, but it's we got rid of him, and I personally think that's a good solid decision on our end where we needed a fresh start on offense. I don't think Bajakian's the guy. I really didn't enjoy a decent chunk of the play calls tonight, and I talked about Bajakian. I mean, I obviously hope he does super well, but I talked about Bajakian in the breakdown. He hasn't been super successful where he's been before this, and I thought tonight, I thought it looked better than Ludwig. I mean, Houston's actually, if you guys aren't aware, is a good defense. This was a team that was not a bad defense, and we made some plays here and there. What is up with these quarterback draws? Am I the only one that is just banging my head against the wall when they run these quarterback draws? It's like, what in the hell is this? I just like every time it's back to the line or a 2-yard loss. Like the quarterbacks, I don't know. It just feels like the upside's not there. CKS is agree. Rose is far more accurate. Yeah, that's how I felt. And I felt more than just being accurate. Rose was comfortable. Like he was just getting the ball out quickly, and he understood. It's kind of like maybe when you first start. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something, but you guys know how it is in sports or whatever. It's like when you first start doing something, you understand it and you know how to do it effectively. But once you have a deep understanding of it, you do it like it's second nature, right? It's like there's little things that Rose doesn't have to think about because of his time in the offense and his time as a college quarterback. I mean, Rose has been here for 2 years now, and he's had time to develop and develop his skills. And he was sought after coming out of college. I remember coming out of high school. I remember making the video on him, and I think he looks awesome. You can see he's head and shoulders above what he was coming out of high school, and he just, like I mentioned, he feels developed. He feels ready to go. He's not thinking every little step of the way, where that's how it can feel at times with Isaac, where you're just asking yourself, why is this not simpler? Why are you not just throwing the dump off? And I was about to make a post earlier. I'm a New York Jets fan and a Utes fan. So this Wilson family tied to me very much so. And I'm just as hardcore about the Jets as I'm about the Utes. You could actually see some Jet stuff in the background. But It's one thing Zach Wilson really struggled with in the NFL and continues to struggle with probably. I just haven't kept up with him as much. Is just throwing balls into the dirt, just on a dump off on a screen. It just goes straight down, and it's like a simple pass that you should feel very comfortable completing, and he didn't. Oh, Wild Ute was about to hop on. I was about to let him in, and then he jumped off. So let's see if he hops back on. That'd be a fun one. Wild Ute, if you're still wanting to hop on, let's get you on. Okay, Wild Ute. Well, my man, how you doing?
Doing well. How you doing?
Kind of sucks because I'm so glad to see you, but I wish it was under better circumstances.
I think that we just need to say that over the last 20 years. I've been a Ute fan for 25 years, diehard Ute fan. This is the most disappointing loss in the last three in the last 20, 25 years. You just need to say it like it is. Losing to Houston is unacceptable, guys. You can't lose to we are the second worst team in the Big 12 behind Oklahoma State. And that's just not acceptable.
And it's probably debatable, right? Like it's not like we're
Right.
the clear second. We might be the worst. Like honestly, I don't think there's a strong case to be made that we're not the worst. I'm not saying we will be next year, but this
Sure.
year it's not looking good.
And so it's shocking just the fall from this team. And there's been chatter too about the locker room too, just issues in the locker room. I don't know if you can turn it around this season. I think that major changes need to happen going into the next season. Personnel differences and stuff to compete in the Big 12. You're right about Cam Rising. Cam Rising was designed to run this offense. But it's just crazy how Cam Rising's the only person apparently in the world that can do it, right? Brandon Rose has been in the system for 3 years, and he did look better. Rose looked better.
Yeah. We both commented on that. Rose, I feel like the interception is going to leave a bad taste in people's mouths, but I
Sure.
was really liking what I saw before that. Where it was a perfect no, but like his stat line had two big drops that were just
Mhm.
unacceptable. Yeah, and there was a lot of good, and I almost liked that he had a chance to throw an interception because it's felt really like these quarterbacks are handcuffed, and this offense is just like, hey, we're gonna kill you if you make a mistake. Do not make a mistake, and it's unhealthy. And Cam Rising is just at a level where he can overcome that.
So there's something else is going on with this team too. Is okay. So we've always, as Utah fans, over the last 20 years, especially the last 10, we've been the underdog. We've been the underdog in the Pac-12. USC was that bully that we dominated and we got to the top. Right. We come over here. We chat we talked a lot of smack. You and I did too. Everyone did, right? We had a good team coming too. This
This
team,
is not how
talent
we
wise, is
saw
a good
this
team.
going. Yeah, this is not how we
Yeah,
saw this going. Yeah.
but we've never been in this position before where we have one of the more talented teams. We are the clear favorite to win, and we fall apart. And we've never had a spiral like this. You could say teams in the past, like a USC and stuff, might have spiraled like this, but we've never been in the situation. So it's new territory, and it really hurts. And the fact that it's the year one of the Big 12, you have no idea. Like we talked a lot of smack. I talked a lot of smack. I've heard thousands of troll comments from Big 12 fans, over the last month. It's been rough. It has been rough, and you just have to take it. You have to eat it, and just get hungry for next year because this year's all about building for next year now.
Just a little pro tip about the troll comments. I have my notifications to only notify me if you follow the page. So if you are trolling me and you're commenting on old stuff, I don't see it unless you follow. And then if you are following, I'm just gonna mute you. So that's how I handle that. Been there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wanted to get your thoughts on something, and for sure, let me be really clear: the offense is the problem, and like the lack of anything happening on offense is the clear problem. But I do think one thing that has gone under the radar and under commented on is the way the defense has been allowing rushing yards. I don't know if it's something you've noticed, but I feel like it's the offense is so bad that no one's talking about it. But tonight, for example, We let up 228 rushing yards to Houston, and all they could do is run. That was their only ability to do anything, and we couldn't stop them. And I'm sure you saw the comments just as much as I did that Lander Barton looked terrible tonight, and that he's looked very bad in other games as well. Um, I can't say that every game he's looked bad, but tonight it seemed like an injury. But just in general, our run defense has really left a lot to be desired, where we're usually such a physical smash mouth team. And it feels like, you think about the past few games, as much as the offense let us down, the defense has gotten in a position every single game at the end of the game where all you have to do is stop them from running the ball at the end of the game, and you can. What are your thoughts there?
So I think that the rushing defense needs to improve, but like we got 2 4th down stops on the goal line.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, at the end of the day, they scored 17 points. This is major college football. If you lose when someone's scoring 17 points over the last couple of games, like that's just not acceptable in offense. Like, and so at the end of the day, you could try to point to the defense, but like they're a good defense. Like Lander Barton. Here's the thing: he played a good game, but the key moments of the game. This happened at Arizona State. This happened at multiple times, like on this loss spree. He cannot get tackles in 4th down crunch time. Like, and he gave up that 3rd or 4th down conversion tonight that gave them the first down, the next play's a touchdown. Same thing happened versus Arizona State. Scadaboo, he couldn't get Scadaboo down. It's just, I don't know what the deal is. Like his lateral quickness just goes out on him on these key crunch plays, and it's just him every time.
Yeah, like the weird thing is too, it's like he had really nice plays tonight, but then he also had plays where you were like, yo, he's the worst person on the field right now. Like it is, but he had great plays as well. It's very confusing to watch him.
Like Joseph, we scored 14 points. Last game we scored 7 points. Like we can't, like let's not even talk about the defense. Like seriously, like this is not the story. It sucks. Like yeah, we don't want to give up any rushing yards, but you have to score more than 17 points to win a football game in the Big 12 or the Pac-12. Like this offense has taken a step back considerably from last year. Last year, when we had a historically bad offense, if you look at the QBRs from our QBs, they're the worst in the nation, like bottom 5. It's just bad. You guys, it's unacceptable, and we have to call that out. And the offense needs to like wholesale changes. I don't care if it's Rose. I don't care if it's Wilson. It's just not acceptable. We're in the NIL era. There's no development anywhere. Quarterback can leave year in, year out. Just show results, man. Show results. Win the freaking game. I don't care if it's by a point or 100. Win the game. And this is not acceptable. It's not.
What were your thoughts on Bajakian tonight?
Bajakian is Andy Ludwig. The same thing. It's like the same guy and everything. It's execution. I think it's more execution. Yeah. Like, I mean, Andy's play calling, was below average, but Bajakian's not going to change much. I mean, like, it's not like he's running a completely different offense. Like Brandon Rose, that last play, that was costly. That interception and everything. Like Ryan should have ran back to the ball. He was sitting there and let a guy get in front of him and everything. But like, why don't you just run the freaking football? Run the football more. Like, why are we giving it to Brandon Rose? He didn't even game plan for Houston. He was the backup quarterback this week. Yeah. What the freak? Just run the football. Like Glover had it going on, and so did Mekhi Benrod. Like, why are you even throwing the football at all?
But another question: where has Glover been all year?
He looked great tonight.
Yeah, he looked awesome, but that was like the only time we've seen him all year. And I think you and I were both on the same page. And I'm sure most fans were thinking we were going to have a 2-headed monster with Glover and Bernard, and that one of the other younger guys was going to rotate in. And obviously something is going on behind the scenes. I don't know what it is, but Glover didn't get to go in until today.
I don't know what's going on there. He looked great today. And I do know that we were moving the ball and we're running it fairly effectively. And we just seemed to get away from it the last couple possessions. And oh man, that Brandon Rose interception, that's rough because he did give us a spark. And one thing that we're lacking is swagger.
Yeah.
Confidence and swagger. And he's got it, right? Like you
Yeah.
can just look at him. He looks like he's got swag and everything. He brings confidence and injection of energy to the team. Isaac Wilson just looks like beaten. Like he looks like he's completely beaten, right? Like
No,
it,
for sure. It's honestly, and I think you'd share the sentiment. It's so like stiff and nervous, and it's like every play. I was talking about it before you hopped on. It feels like he has to think 3 steps ahead, where Rose is just doing it right. It's like
mhm,
think about the plays we saw from Rose. Those outside, like the receiver screens on the boundary, those were just the second the ball hit his hands, he's throwing them. I guarantee you, you go back and you watch Isaac Wilson run that play compared to Brandon Rose run that play. It's a half second to a second difference of how
mhm.
quickly the ball gets to that receiver. And it
100%.
could just go right into the ground as well.
100%. I think that Rose is probably the solution for the rest of this year. I do think Utah absolutely needs to bring a transfer quarterback from portal going into next season because I'm not sure that the starter for next year is on this roster right now. I mean, I'm real serious about that. Like, unless they show something, unless we start winning games, unless we become a top half of like the college football offense, like because we're one of the worst offenses in the nation. Like, and we've been for 2 years now. And I think Ute fans are just sick
Yeah.
of it. Like, it needs to be better than that. Like, but anyway, like I mean, Rose will give us a jolt. We've got the toughest part of the schedule coming up. Shoot for 6 wins, guys. Like, like 2 more wins for this year. Like that's a successful season at this point in time.
Our ceiling right now is the disappointment. Um, our ceiling right now is the disappointment of the 8 wins we got last year. And that was a rough season too, right? Like this season, I'm sure you're aware, it could go really bad from here on out. And it feels right now that that's more likely than the other scenario because we're not doing anything on offense. So, not trying to be too pessimistic, but it's
Absolutely.
tonight was a stamp of like, yeah, we suck.
Anyway, let somebody else jump on. Thanks for letting me
Cool.
jump on, Joseph. Go Utes.
Wow, you good having you on, man. Bye. Yeah, well, that was cool to have him on. We have done a few videos together in the past, and he's a super cool guy. So thanks again for coming on. But yeah, it's a tough go, and I saw an Anasazi here mention that we're gonna lose a lot to the transfer portal. I think you're absolutely right, dude. We are going to get burnt in the transfer portal when this season's over and the wave of players leaves this team. It's probably going to be pretty shocking. I would imagine the problem is the offensive guys we're going to lose will suck, but I think due to the optics of the star players on offense leaving, we're going to lose some defensive guys as well. That's just kind of where my head's at with that. um, I do think, though, I wonder, we think about this team right now. There was a lot of talent kind of brought in and just kind of injected into the offense. I'm wondering how much that is affecting things, how much we just brought in a lot of pieces more than usual. And maybe they're not becoming Utah guys like Witt always talks about, where we're not going to become you, you're going to become us. And maybe we're struggling to get them to be a part of our culture, and that could be part of why we're seeing this. I'm sure you guys all saw last week after that loss that a bunch of players were posting on Instagram and stuff like wasted season, something. I'm paraphrasing, but something along those lines. And that's not a Utah thing to do, to be going on Instagram and posting about how you're stressed. Like, what are you doing? You're not a little kid. Like, don't be posting on Instagram that you're upset. Like, yeah, if you're that upset, win more games, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, yeah, the quarterback situation sucks right now. It's awful. The offensive production sucks right now. It's terrible, but the guys around them could do more. Like, look at Brant Keithy tonight in the worst situation in the world. Let's look at his numbers, dude. Like, yes, obviously he's one of the best tight ends in the country, but he had 5 receptions for 113 yards tonight and a touchdown. what are the rest of you guys doing, right? Like what are the rest of you guys doing to make plays? Why aren't you doing something? You know what I mean? Where it's like we have one or two more of those Brant Keithy performances. This isn't even a game. And when you have young quarterbacks like an Isaac Wilson or a Brandon Rose needing you to step up, Micah Pittman, Dorian Singer dropping wide open passes, that's not what you're like. You think that that's Brandon Rose's fault that you guys are dropping passes? I mean, it's a lot of you know. Darren says the transfers haven't seen us. Can't blame them for leaving for sure, right? They haven't seen us. They haven't seen what Utah really is. And the truth is, so many of these games were so tight at the end. And I think that's why it's been even more emotionally exhausting, right? It has just been a every game is within a like all we need is one big play or one good drive to win this game, right? TCU, Houston, Arizona State. Arizona wasn't really that way, but Arizona had a whole different dynamic to it. Where when Arizona beat us, it was like we were getting long drives and we just could not score. It was we got down the field multiple times, and that's been a problem as well. I just mean Arizona wasn't that close at the end. It just we could have been in that game and won that game. It just that's not what happened, right? Utes Production says we wonder why no offensive players ever get recruited here. Who would want to play in a vanilla offense that can't move the ball? Yeah, you know what I like though, Utes Productions. I get where you're coming from with the frustration there. I think we're all super frustrated right now, and rightfully so. But um, I would say this: at least we're doing something about it, right? We got rid of Ludwig, and so many people on Twitter tonight were talking about, he's a two-time Pac-12 champ, and it's like, okay, great. Outside of Cam Rising, the past couple of years, he has not just done nothing, but produced one of the worst offenses in the country. Wild U was talking about it. This is 2 years in a row that without Rising, we just are nothing. And there's so many thoughts pop in my head, but another thing was, why are we not developing any of these guys? Like, sure, it's very hard to get a Cam Rising, but why are we not getting anything, in the ballpark of a decent starter? And and if Isaac Wilson, like, to me, when I saw Brandon Rose out there, it was clear that he felt more comfortable and looked better than Isaac Wilson. I don't care what the stats show. I know what I saw. I know what the eye test told me. And I I don't understand why Isaac's been in so much. And Isaac's stats were actually good tonight, but to me, he clearly isn't ready to run the offense. And seriously, if anyone does want to jump on and talk Utah football, I'm going to drop that link in the chat. If you guys want to video chat with me and we could talk a little together, I'd love to have one of you guys on or a couple people on. Utes Production. This is just sad at this point. We aren't going to be bowl eligible, dude. The schedule the rest of the way is not favorable at all. Yeah, it really is not. Yeah, this was like that stretch of the season. Oh God, dude. BYU's next. Oh God. I think we've all been aware of that, kind of in the back of our mind, just knowing that that's coming, right? The BYU's around the corner, and that's not going to be fun. Crusader says Utah needs to hit the portal hard for a veteran QB for sure. I think again though, there's a lot of season left, and we could see an emergence of a Brandon Rose or someone else that looks good and looks a little more fluid, right? Rowan says offense takes a lot of the blame, but missing 2 field goals was huge. Yeah, the kicker situation, I haven't even touched on that basically all year. Just awful. I mean, I get it, 45ers aren't gimmies, but it's like, it seems like anything that's slightly challenging, we're just not going to make. And then even some of the gimmies we're missing. Okay, we got Car Wash Channel on here. Ethan, how are you doing tonight?
What up? What up?
What's
What up?
up, man? How you feeling?
Disappointed, but that's what to
Yeah.
expect. Can't fix anything now, but It is what it is.
Yeah, rough go, man.
I
Rough
quit.
go.
I was watching the game and I quit watching after that interception.
Oh, really? Yeah, I
Yeah,
still have faith. I still have faith we might pull something off, but I'm with you. By the way, record attendance on the stream right now, 500 people. That's our biggest one.
that's
Yeah,
pretty
so
good.
thank you. Yeah, thank you everyone for watching
Yeah,
and like the video if you haven't already. Join
I
the
was excited
chats
when
and
we
the
scored that
comments and
touchdown.
subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. What were you saying, Ethan?
I was excited when we scored that touchdown.
The
At
Makai
then
Bernard in the fourth quarter.
points, and then it became tied, and then just went from downhill from there. But you know,
Yeah, for sure. I can hear your stream
yeah,
in the background. Do you want to turn
yeah. I
that
muted
down?
it. Sorry about it. My
Okay,
bad.
no problem, no problem.
My bad.
No, all good. Don't even worry. No, it was a rough day, man. And I was gonna mention it while Wild Ute was on. He's awesome, but I do feel that there's so much blame on the offense, and the defense is playing very well overall, in my opinion. But there really is something to be said about our rushing defense because
Hmm.
one thing about football is there is the score of both teams, right? But there's also the game script where it's like, okay, well, how did the game go? If their offense just sees that our offense sucks, just like we know we have a really good defense most of the time, so we don't try to push our offense to do big things, right? And so that leads to our us not taking big risks, right? And the same is when we're
Yes.
on defense, and it's like, hey, when they know our offense sucks and that they don't need to take risks, they're not going to. So sometimes these final scores where yes, we do have a good defense overall, and they're not the reason we're losing games. But I do think when we say like 14 points, 13 points, I don't know if that's always fair to say that that's not it's not always because our defense is lights out. It's also because of the game script, right? And as you get into the middle of the game, it's both teams are throwing jabs more than they're throwing punches or like overhands, right? It's kind of like, hey,
Yes. Yes.
we're just trying to win rounds now. So, what did you
Well,
see tonight, though, Ethan? What are your thoughts on the game?
I thought it was pretty good. I wish we moved the ball more. In the first three quarters, but I just wish we could get more stops. That's what I want. More pushing, more stops,
On
but
defense, you mean?
yeah, defense, yes,
Yeah,
and more in getting closer to end zone. But it was still a good game. I wish we won it, but
for sure. What did you think of Brandon Rose?
he did. I think he was pretty good.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
feel like my optimism is way higher than my optimism is right now for Wilson.
I wouldn't say like good, like like awesome, like professional. But I'd say I'll give him a good. I'll rate him good. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm with you. Where it's like it wasn't amazing. Like yeah, he threw that interception at the end, and there were no
Yeah,
like crazy big plays, but it was a sign of life. It was like, hey, this
yeah.
guy's he just looked fluid. He looked like he knew what he was doing, and he felt comfortable. And it feels like we haven't seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Even when Cam Rising was back in, he was injured like
Yeah,
5 plays in, and then so we weren't seeing even any of the injured hand too.
yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
before I hang up here, because I know I want to give someone else a chance to join in the stream,
for
but
sure.
I was saying, I hope we can win the rivalry game. I'll be happy with that. The
Yeah,
rivalry
I
game,
mean,
and I don't mind losing the rest if we have to, but I just want to win
sounds
the
good.
rivalry game. That's all that matters.
No, I know.
But,
I'll
but I'll let you.
bump you now, Ethan. But yeah, thank you so much, man. I'm gonna comment on the rivalry
Yeah,
game right now. Thanks, man. Yeah. So rivalry game. That's gonna be intense. We are gonna have BYU coming to our home. Our last matchup with BYU, we lost, and all of us thought this was gonna be this big redemption game where we were gonna just beat the crap out of BYU. It's not looking that way right now, guys. I don't know how much you guys follow BYU as well as Utah, but BYU looks pretty good. They're probably the best team in the Big 12 for my money right now, and they're undefeated on the year. They're 8-0, and they played some pretty damn good teams. And they're going to be coming to Utah looking for blood and looking to embarrass us. Now, We also have the awesome opportunity of playing spoiler, right? It feels like this season's going a direction where what we thought might be possible is not possible, and it's not. We're not like looking for that ceiling we once had, but the opportunity to stomp BYU's dream. I mean, BYU's a legitimate college football playoff team right now. They really are. They're looked at to be a college football playoff team, and we have an opportunity to take that from them. And we get a bye week off to fix all these freaking problems. I would love, this is my thought, is we need a big change. I would love for them to really spend a week or so now, or 2 weeks, with Brandon Rose, develop a game plan around him, work him into practices, give him all the number one reps for 2 weeks, and figure something out. Okay, we got Utes production on with us. Utes talked quite a few times, but never actually heard your voice.
Yep.
Your voice. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Well, I wouldn't say good, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Nah, as my name suggests, it's pretty
that
rough.
sucked, man.
I mean, like,
yeah.
I know people want to see Rose, and when he was in the game tonight, he actually, I mean, I think he did pretty good. He looked more confident throwing the ball. Like, he got it out quicker.
Significantly more to me. Significantly more to me.
Like, he was getting it out quicker. And Isaac was under pressure a lot. Our O-line has not been helping him, in my opinion. Like, I feel like that left side of the O-line is really getting cooked. And, like, he was under pressure a lot. But I think Brandon Rose did a good job of getting it out on time, unlike Isaac. Isaac just looked like he was panicking. And I don't know. I mean, I can't blame him. I did not like how he ran just basically wide receiver screens or tight end screens. Like, basically every pass play that had any yardage was a wide receiver screen. But
yeah,
someone brought this up in the comments, and they mentioned the special teams, or not special teams, the punting. And something that I've actually noticed is that we have not been punting the ball well,
no, you're
at
right,
all.
especially tonight. I noticed that tonight. We had
they started from like the 38 or 40 yard line, like every drive, and like they had one good drive. Houston did. And I give him credit. That was a good drive that scored on that second touchdown. But
yeah,
other than that, man, like, I feel so sick for our defense. It's just so sad, just because I'm like, they're playing their hearts out.
Period.
And like, I was just on Twitter,
kicking,
and someone
punting, all of it, really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, kicking. Yeah, kicking. I'm just shocked Becker missed it again after the timeout. I was like, what? How did he miss that? And then the second one, I don't know. It's whatever. I mean, like, you can't rely on a kicker, as they say. So
yeah, that's on us for not scoring. But still, we probably win that game, right? And
yeah.
Like you mentioned, the defense puts so much of the game on their back that at that point they still probably have a little more life, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just don't like this whole, like I mentioned with the Car Wash channel, there's game scripts, right? And when our offense puts up points, there's more onus on their offense to put up points, right? And obviously every drive, every offense wants to put up points, but what I'm referring to is more the risks they're willing to take, how many shots you taking downfield versus how many up the gut runs are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, they ran for 228 yards on us. So that it tells you two things. One, our offense wasn't moving, like putting up points in a way that put pressure on them to make big plays. But then two, that they had tons of, like, our time of possession was almost exactly the same, right? Like, it was, and we had some decent drives. Like, it wasn't like and really, you think about our defense, they had a couple big plays that we caught them right before the end zone and made a goal line stand.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't this perfect game, because I would say this, every rushing yard probably counts for like 1.5 passing yards, right?
Yep.
So they ran a lot on it. 228, that's not what you expect.
That's something really scary too, is like, I mean, from what I've watched from Utah the past, whatever couple seasons, or just, my whole life, we do not let teams run the ball. And this season, it seems like people are actually able to run the ball on us, and that has to do with our tackling issues by far. I mean, like, this season, and I've noticed Lander Barton now, it was kind of funny. I mean, I was getting a little mad at the ESPN broadcast, the ESPN Plus. Like, I hated the commentators. They're so annoying. But they were pointing out how Lander Barton had like, I don't know, 10 or 11 tackles, but I'm like, he also had some really bad misses that were crucial, like on that 4th and whatever run the quarterback
the
had.
quarterback scramble, that was awful.
And then that run by the running back, it was good. It was a good move by the running back, but I'm just like, you can't.
That running back was legit.
Yeah,
but it feels like I've said that so many freaking games now. Like Scatterboo was.
Yeah, Scatterboo will do that too.
Well, no, but I mean, you think about the past 4 games. Savion Williams at TCU. I was talking about how legit he was. Scatterboo at Arizona State. I was talking about how legit he was. And then Arizona had a good crew of running backs as well. And it's like, hey, okay, how many times are we going to say these running backs are really good?
Yep.
Right? Like, eventually we got to take the blame on our end. Yeah, man. Anything else you want to share?
Nope. I hope we can, beat BYU. It's not looking good though. I mean,
I know.
So my dad's a BYU grad, so part of me, I have to be a better person and cheer for them when they're playing other people. But it's been hard because I'm like, we were supposed to be having this season.
I know. It's like we're having the season they were supposed to have.
But I can just laugh at it at this point. I mean, it's like whatever. And like you said, I mean, we can play the upset game and ruin their playoff hopes but I mean, just we don't have that swagger this season that we used to, but we'll see. I mean, we can turn it around in the bye week. That's what I said for Arizona, but it didn't end up that way, but we'll see.
No, I'm with you. I feel the same way, man. I feel the same way. Well, hey, thanks for coming on, man. Come on again sometime. It's cool talking with you.
Yeah, for sure. Have a good one, brother.
You too. Yeah, it's guys, there's so much this season has just been a roller coaster of emotion where we like 4-0, 4-4, and just everything week by week just felt like it's just kind of stripped us down to our expectations for the year being less and less, and just kind of giving you guys some insight on where I was heading into this game is, hey, if we win this game, everyone's hopes will be high, and if we follow it up with a BYU win, everyone's hopes will be very high, and we'll be looked at as a serious contender in the Big 12 again, or at least, right outside of that, serious contender group. And that's kind of been taken away from us. Even with a good run from here on out, this is kind of where we are. We have, that's 4 Big 12 losses. In my eyes, Wild U was saying we're kind of second worst in the Big 12, but in my eyes, I don't know if I look at it that way. I guess I haven't followed Oklahoma State too much. I know they've lost a lot of games since we played them, but I kind of feel like almost any decent offense is going to get on the field and beat us at this point. So that's not where I want to be. It's just kind of where my mind is, and it sucks. And I really felt some signs of life. Like early in the game, that Brant Keithy screen pass that went for 71 yards. That was amazing. Is what it is. Guys, the season isn't going to be what we wanted it to be, but I can tell you what, where I'm at is if we could win against BYU, how sweet would that be? Dude, how sweet would a BYU win be, right? How nice would that be? That they be 8-0? Do they play next week? Let's actually look that up. I'm not sure. Because if they play next week, they could be 9-0. No, so looks like they have a bye week too. So we'll both be rested up and as healthy as you can be heading into that game. And they're gonna come in and they're gonna be a pretty big favorite, because not only has this season talent wise and like efficiency on offense been terrible, one of the worst things that no one's really talking about is our home field advantage has kind of gotten stripped away a little, right? Like it's still there, but the fear that teams have when they come into Rice Eccles, it's not at the same level anymore. And I would say, if anything, like another concern with Wilson is does he like the home crowd? Does he like that loud crowd getting super into it? Because it seems like it's not giving him any extra momentum. He's not riding with it. So it is what it is there. I'm going to drop the video chat link in one more time. If anyone else wants to jump on, you're more than welcome to. We could video chat a little bit here. No matter what your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Benjamin says, at least I'm going into the BYU game with zero expectations. So if Utah wins, I'll definitely jump through the moon. Yeah, it's kind of how I feel too, right? Like I'm diehard, so it's like I'm gonna be watching every game. Yeah, I'll make sure I watch every Utah game and every Jets game week in and week out. It's just part of my routine. And then, yeah, if we win, that'd be huge. Honestly, that would, at this point, that would really be a highlight of the season for me. Like, that would be, I can't imagine too much that would get me. Obviously, I would love to just figure out a quarterback, right? I would love for us to just see, but I don't think we beat BYU without getting some life out of a quarterback. And so that would be awesome. If we were to beat BYU, figure out a quarterback, even if we go 6-6 from here on out, but we have like a quarterback that looks good, looks solid, looks like he could be the future, that would get me really optimistic. CKS says maybe Utes can make the Potato Bowl. Fun times. Yeah, that could be fun. I think that's kind of where all of our minds are right now. Rowan says, I fear our interception TD streak is in jeopardy this year. It just seems fitting with everything else going on. Yeah, John Hall really almost got that one back. What did he get tackled at the 20 line? So, Utes Production says, bruh, did you see Josh Frolling's interview with Mackay after the game? We are so toast, dude. I didn't see it, but I'm guessing it's bad. Car Wash says, we are not bowl eligible. Bowl games are dumb and they don't mean anything. Well, if we won out, we could get to a bowl for sure. So, yeah, it is what it is, guys. I think we're at a point where we gotta, rechannel our vision of what our expectations are, and just kind of, take the season at what it's become, and not what we thought it would be. So, well, and then we got the election coming up, so I hope you guys all, get out there and vote. I'm not going to talk politics or anything, but get out there, make your voice heard, and yeah, that that's coming up. So maybe that could take off your mind from Utah's rough season. I, Another bright side is that we're 4-4, and we're kind of mentally like feeling like the worst team in the world. And I think that in itself tells you a little something about the quality of our program, just how high the expectations are, right? I mean, God, dude, a month ago, we thought we were going to the college football playoff. I mean, I'm going to be real with you guys. That's where I was. And I think a lot of people, if you're being honest with yourself, that's where we were, right? We really thought we were. And now that just seems crazy. And it sucks. And the future is still bright. I still think Utah is a great football program, very tough. Our defense has showed up every game, and our defense is going to finish this year, I feel confident, as one of the best in the country. The sad part is our offense is probably going to finish, unless something drastic happens, our offense is probably going to finish as one of the worst in the country. So, a quick question I would have for you guys is where are you at with the quarterback situation? If you guys want to comment in the chat, like what are you thinking with quarterback? Are you guys of the mindset that there's a good chance that someone in this room does work out? Do you guys feel like Isaac will get there with more time? Do you feel like you want to give, the other quarterbacks in the room, Brandon Rose, some more shots and kind of see how that goes? Crusader says Rose. I definitely feel that. I liked what I saw. And don't forget, heading into last year, they were talking about how Rose is the number 2 quarterback before he got injured. And that's why Nate Johnson and Bryson Barnes were in, right? So I think that's a good sign for Rose. And I really liked what I saw. Crusader says, I've been saying we need to bench Wilson. Yeah, I think one thing that's concerning about Wilson, and I really thought it stood out tonight, is not that he won't get good, but where he is right now and how comfortable he is, because he has all the tools. And I think for me, that when it stands out, it's when he runs. He looks so uncomfortable and so like not ready to make cuts. It's very stiff. He doesn't feel like he's playing. He's just kind of, he's a very toolsy guy right now, that he's like a ball of clay that will develop or at least could develop into something good, but he's just not there right now. And that's kind of where my mind is. Utes Production says Rose was going to start last year if he didn't get such a bad injury during fall camp. Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Had he not gotten such a bad injury during fall camp, this would have been a different story. Benjamin says, this point in the season, I want to give Rose more reps and see if he settles in. Wilson hasn't been good enough, although I think he will also get better with reps, just not settled in. Yeah, I do have this weird conflict in my brain though. I'm telling you guys, because I watched Zach Wilson year after year for the Jets, just like not figure it out, like just game in, game out. You keep waiting, and there was some sparks, right? But you never saw it consistently or over multiple games. And I do get very nervous when it's like, hey, we're talking about almost half a season of starting now for Wilson, and we're just not seeing the comfortability, right? We're not seeing him just settle in and just start to, like, it'd be one thing if he just like, was choking here and there. But I think what scares me right now for the future there, and I'm going to be, to be clear, I still think there's a very good shot things work out with Wilson. But just kind of what worries me is that he could, this nervousness, this is something hard to shake, guys. I am telling you, he's a guy that has just watched the Jets fail quarterback after quarterback, and being real, the Utes also fail quarterback after quarterback. This uneasiness when they're behind center, and like Isaac Wilson, guys, he's dropping back, he's checking his reads, and a lot of people are saying this offensive line is terrible. Guys, there are many plays where he has 4 or 5 seconds in the pocket and he just doesn't do anything. And for anyone that's unaware, 4 or 5 seconds is a really long time. That is, imagine you drop back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can't hit somebody. You can't find one guy open. Now, I'm not watching the all 22 after every game, right? I'm not doing that. I just, I don't think the receivers are getting crazy open, but there's definitely plays where I see people open in the flats, in the middle of the field, and Isaac just isn't finding them. And it feels like he has a timer in his head. And once he hits like that 2, 3 seconds, he is freaking out and doesn't know what to do. And I think that's very true. I think that's really what we're seeing. I can't imagine people are going to disagree with that. That's it. You can feel it. I'm sure you guys are watching as well. You're just watching Isaac Wilson. He drops back. It's 1, 2, and you start thinking in your head, okay, he hasn't found anyone. What is he doing? What is he doing? And then it's another second or two, and then he's just having a mental breakdown. It's like, okay, now I'm gonna run around. I don't know. It's a lot more to be desired there, and the maturity and the development and the decision making, because you have to, as a quarterback, you gotta make your call, and that's the problem is that transition, right? Where it's he doesn't feel confident hitting his reads, and then after that, he's not committing to go improv. It's kind of still like this 50-50. I mean, I can think of so many plays tonight where Isaac had 5+ seconds. It wasn't all in the pocket, but like he'd have 3, 4 seconds in the pocket and then roll out and have another couple seconds outside the pocket and just wouldn't make anything happen. And this is a young kid, and I think he still has the world ahead of him, and I hope he does great things. And I'm not trying to make this an Isaac Wilson bashing session. That's really not what it's meant to be. I'm just being honest that is a huge red flag for me right now. And going into the BYU game, I really would love for them to do a full game plan around Brandon Rose's skills and give him a shot to do something. Then if Brandon Rose has a really bad game against BYU, maybe you go back to Isaac, right? I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but I do think not really changing your direction after seeing the difference in how comfortable they were. Um, it's that would be foolish. And I think this is a good test for Bajakian, who, like I mentioned in the breakdown for this game beforehand, I don't think he's the guy long term. And I think tonight kind of proved that, right? Like that he's not the guy long term in my eyes. This is what you guys were talking about earlier. Ethan Wall says Mekhi Bernard on why Utah is falling apart. So this is with Josh Furlong in the post-game interview. Can't answer that. I'm not going to answer that. I know what it is, but I'm not going to answer that. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you guys expect him to say. Like, I mean, he could give a slightly more, you know, polished answer, right? They're asking him why the Utah offense hasn't fallen apart. I don't know. Like Crusader says it's Wilson, but I don't know if that's what Mekhi would say. I think what Mekhi would say is we don't have a quarterback, right? Like we can't figure out the quarterback position. And I don't think Wilson has any mirage in his brain that he's doing well. I feel bad for the kid. The weight of the world is on his shoulders. A fan base that thought they were going to the college football playoffs this year is going at this kid. And there are a lot of fans on Twitter this week that are going hard about the fact that they like it was not Ludwig, it was Isaac Wilson. Like we all knew this, and like now we lost our two-time Pac-12 champion offensive coordinator, and it's like guys, it's both of them, right? It's very obvious. Isaac Wilson is not there yet, but that's because he's young. And it could be that he never gets there, right? I think he hopefully will, but he's still very young. And I think critiquing him is not, it's not about saying Isaac Wilson sucks and that he needs to figure it out. It's the critiques are, hey, why is he the best guy on the team? Like, why is he the starter right now? It's very confusing to me that he's our guy. And so, very confusing. Spencer Clegg. There's a Spencer Clegg on the Utah football team, isn't there? Are you the Spencer Clegg on the Utah football team? He said, if he hadn't said, I know what it is, then I don't think we'd even be talking about Mekhi's quote, but he did. Yeah, I mean, don't forget, guys. These guys have been bottling up their feelings week after week, just kind of, eating it. So things are going to slip out. I mean, there's frustration, guys. Use Production says, I'll be honest, I think it's also Whittingham. I know it's a hot take, but sometimes, yes, it's worked for so many years, but I think Kyle has a lot of influence on how they game plan. Yeah, I think Whittingham is part of it too, but I also think the offensive coordinator has a ton of control. And I don't know. I can't. Whittingham does so much good that it's hard for me to put too much blame on him. So Spencer Clay says, I wish that was me. Haha. Okay. Just checking. Wouldn't be the first time a player entered into the chat. If any players are watching and want to hop on the video stream, I'm going to drop that into the chat, and we would love to have you guys on. How cool would that be if we got a Utah player to come into this live stream and talk to us about how the locker room is feeling right now, how the team's feeling right now? I mean, we have 594 people in here. You got to imagine the majority of them are Utah fans or family members of Utah players and possibly Utah players. So that would be cool. Well, he says, unfortunately, the players are all on a sad flight home. Well, they have Wi-Fi. This is a private jet, right? It's not like they're flying coach on Frontier. Like they're on a private jet. I'm sure they have Wi-Fi. And honestly, I'm pretty sure some of them are watching this. Maybe some of them right now are considering hopping on the stream. And if you are, that would be badass if you guys hop on the stream. But I'm not going to expect it. But if you did, that would be cool. Benjamin said, I also won't ever call for Whittingham to be fired or criticize him much either. He has done more than anyone ever for our program. Love Whit. He has a mountain of goodwill. That's kind of where I am, where when people like, I'm not saying there's not legitimate criticism and you can't bring it up, because I hate when people act like, oh, what the hell? Like I posted a poll the other day where it was like, what do you think the number one problem is with the Utah offense? And I said, Andy Ludwig, Kyle Whittingham, or Isaac Wilson. And people were pissed that I even put Isaac Wilson's name as an option. And it's like, guys, you can say that Isaac Wilson is not ready without saying he sucks. Like, his potential is much different than where he is right now, guys. Because if you're watching these games and thinking he's great and it's just this terrible offensive coordinator holding him back, you're confused. Like, that's not a coordinator thing. Like, could it be better with a better coordinator? Sure. But it's not like this guy's amazing and the play calls are just terrible. That's not what we're seeing here. Rusty says, how much does the transfer portal come into play when a coach decides to bench a player? Gotta think it gives players a longer leash. Gotta think it gives players a longer leash. When you say that, are you referring to? Oh, are you referring to like it gives players a longer leash in the sense that you can transfer out? Could you touch more on that, Rusty? I'm not going to answer that right now. Just maybe follow up on that. Man, I was really hoping we could get some. Okay. Rusty says if I bench a player, he will transfer. Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't that be a shorter leash? Maybe. But it'd be like, like it's scary to bench players and it's scary to bench Wilson if you're Kyle Whittingham because they can just transfer, right? But the good thing when you're in this situation, guys, and you're Whittingham and Wilson is playing the way he is and you bench him, I don't think he's going to get offers from a bunch of great schools. Just being honest about it. I think it's just like when players get drafted from the NFL, guys. It is one of those things. Okay, I am going to shut it down here. Give me a second here, guys. My family is ready for me to go to bed, so I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate your time tonight, guys. Before we get out of here, please smash the like button. Also, comment down below your thoughts on the game, your thoughts on the team for the rest of the season. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I am out of here, and go Utes.